If you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s, and you think and you believe that life, or you don't have a purpose in life right now, you have to watch this conversation. My next guest is 70. She's a model, and she's somebody who's still evolving, creating businesses, and enjoying and developing a passion for life. I found this article from Vice they made about you, and the title was "This model looks better than you look in your
Ah,
20s."
what you were speaking before, saying before. Yeah.
And I had this conversation the other day with a friend of mine who is around my age, and he was saying, it's crazy because when I was a child, people around 50 and 60, they were really
Me
old people.
too. For
They
me
were,
too.
you know, yeah. And now it's like you see these people who are like 60 and they're like fit and they're like training and they're running and they look amazing. And I just got very inspired by you and some other people that I'm
Yeah.
following. They're like in their 50s, 60s,
Almost
70s,
for me. Yes.
80s, and they're still training and having an active life. And this just shows that everything is a mindset.
Yeah. It's a mindset, and it's also the world we see around us. We imagine it's like that, and it will be
Mm,
like that. And when I was a little girl, I was seeing the world like that. But for me, inside it was no, it will not be me like that.
mm,
It depends
yeah.
of the personality as well. I was quite a little bit rebellious when I was young because I didn't want to look like others. I didn't want to be like the thing I didn't like, and intrigued me very young, this thing like we are not obliged to do like others do. And it's like that. I cut my hair as I had the first one, I was like 11 and I never dyed them, and I found this fantastic to have this silver thread coming out of my skull, and I was like, oh, this is really amazing. So it's the mindset, but it's also, I think, the personality, the soul of the person is also for a big part of that. And when I think about this being almost 70, it's like the seed was already there to be on my authority. And I experiment that and I manifest that all my life during my different experiences, like modeling and working outside and in relationships and all that. And sometimes it has been painful. And now it's more and more peaceful.
I think that you became a model at the age of
Yeah.
30. And that is very unusual because actually by 30, all the models are already
At
retired.
that time, it was really unusual. At that time, I started exactly at 28. My first job for in 1 year, one job, and it was. But I never thought about that. I never thought I was too old to do that. It came on my way, and I said, okay, it's another experience. I never also desired to be model. This is also something. I was model for my mother. My mother was a tailor, and she was asking me to stand still to do fittings on me, and I hated that. And the irony is that I started being model for fittings for 10 years.
Mm.
And she was telling me, you cannot stay still for 10 minutes. You will never be able to be a model. And I was like, maybe it was a challenge. She threw away a spell or something. And many years later, yeah.
I see that you're somebody who is very close to the nature. Is this something that is coming from your childhood? How were you
My
raised?
father is from Corsica. My mother is from east of
Mhm,
France. And they fell in
mhm.
love there. And after they brought me in Corsica, I was like 6 months. And
Mhm.
after they went back to the mainland, and they let me when I was 2 years old with my grandparents in Corsica on the beach. It was only 3 families and no running water, no electricity. And I was speaking Corsican actually. It was my first language. It was not French because they were not speaking French. Something that imprinted me for life is the 2 years full time I spent with my grandparents between 2 and 4. Because we were washing at the river. We were, my grandfather was fishing, was hunting. So I was going with them. I was the first little child, a grandchild in the family. So I had a life really pleasant with them, even if it's not always easy, because when you don't have running water and electricity, you have to adapt. And my grandmother and my grandfathers too, they were really amazing, but my grandmother especially, because to get the drinking water, we had to walk like half-mile, and she was carrying the water on her head, as well as the laundry that we were doing at the river. So when you live like that, as a little child, you see beauty around you. And in fact, it's like you are immersed in a place that you belong to, because we are organic as nature. And so it's like, it was really, really pleasant. Even sometimes the water was cold for sure, but I still take cold water, showers, and I love cold water. So I think it's this who really imprinted me for life, this life, very simple life. I think I was already able to appreciate the beauty in nature around me and the light. Because when you wash at the river under the trees, there is this light, playing shadow and light, and it's magical. You have the light on the sea that is all silver or gold, and you have the light on the river that is like shiny, and you can see a little bit the creatures, and it's really fantastic. And I think this is also what made me be interested by photography since very young. It's this what gave me the desire to share with others the beauty I see. And it's what I did all my life, and I continue to do. And now it's fantastic with the social media and all that. We can share every day what we see, what we enjoy. And a lot of my followers are happy because they will never see these things, these places, these beauties. And I'm still amazed. Every day I go out, I found new flowers, new rock, new bushes, new birds, and it's fantastic, you know.
How was your transition when you were living there in the nature in Corsica with your grandparents to moving, I guess, to the
So
city and
this is
then
interesting.
becoming a
Yeah,
teenager and
it's
then
interesting because when I was living, for example, with my mother's side in Besançon, I recreate a
mm,
kind of small universe with animals. I was going
mhm,
and buying little fishes. I
mhm,
had a room. We had 4 rooms for the two of us. So I had a room where
mhm,
I created this universe with small turtles. I was a child. I didn't have the consciousness now that they are better free. At that time, I had birds. I had this big, how do you call this? Pigeon, white pigeon. But
mhm.
after
Yeah, white
my aunt
pigeons.
and my uncle kept it 20 years when I left Besançon, east of France.
Mm,
Amazing. They had an amazing experience with this bird.
mm,
And I did that. And after, when I grew, I realized that I will never have animal closed. Never. And I don't have pets. Because when I was little girl, we had dogs and cats living free.
mm,
And after I was like, in a way, pardon me for, or to ask, you know, forgiveness to all the animal I enclosed for years in Besançon, east of France,
mhm,
because When I was thinking about that, it was breaking my heart, all these little, and I was taking care of them.
Was for you really hard, this transition from going to the nature and going to Paris?
Yeah, is what I'm telling you. Luck, I had this summer vacation in Corsica, and I was in a very quiet area. I was close to east of Paris, Parc des Buttes-Chaumont. That is a very nice park. So I was going at the park regularly. At that time, I was a runner, so I was a windsurfer at that time. So I did windsurfing for 25 years. This was keeping me in shape. And when I was in Paris, I was at the park running. And in my early 30s, I discovered yoga. And when I did the 2 years and a half of Bikram, I had an opportunity to do something else, another kind of yoga. Because all this is parallel to a lot of investigation emotionally in my life experiences, in my relationships and all that. And life, I always took what life brought to me. At the same time, I was working a lot as model for a big company in Paris that was designing for all the big designers like Saint Laurent, Jill Sander, and all these designers. And this was great for me to have this yoga practice, because fitting model for days when you are stand up without moving, I'm telling you, it's so hard, the feet, and on high heels, not flat. So I was making great money, but it was hard work. I'm telling you, it was like the end of the season for 4 months. Like I was like my feet, I was dying, And but I was thankful. I was making enough money to raise my children and for the months I was not working a lot, and to still have my vacation in Corsica with them. And by chance, life brought something else on my road, and I started to model for Japanese client, not in fitting anymore, but for catalogs in pictures. This was the main turn. It was in 1995, 96. And I started to travel a lot. And until 2000, I was still in New York. I was working for them again, 2000, 2001. It's amazing how time reveals, I started to do with Nepalese artisan a small shawl, cashmere shawl and yak shawl collection. And I was going to close it. I was going to stop it in 2020 when all this started. But life is amazing, because I had requests from my followers since a long time to do live video, to speak about, like we speak, about things and of daily life and diet and health and food and many things. And during the video live, it was still a little bit chilly in Malibu at that time. So I was wearing my shawls. And after I had the idea to do about you are at home, what you can do, you can knit. So I showed to people how to knit, to make sweaters, or, to be able to. So I started to do these things, and I realized that people likes it a lot. And I started to sell shawls again. I had requests, and I say, okay, so I had to reorder shawls when I was going to close it, and I had my 2 best years. I saw very, very well working from home. Don't have to confinement. I didn't care. I was going at the post office. I was doing my thing. I was not wearing my mask. I have my scarf around me, and it has been very easy for me. And I had, like this, I was able to support the orphanage I'm supporting, because what happened with the confinement, a lot of their donors could not give money anymore. They had no work. So in fact, I was almost the only one to give them money. And from that, for the orphanage, I had contact on social media, and one contact told me, I think we can get for the orphanage a good grant. I say, yeah, next year we're going to prep. And we did. And from this contact and this exposure, we got a 100,000 grant for the orphanage.
What inspired you to move from Malibu to the desert where you're living right now?
I knew, to be honest, since 14 years in Malibu, I loved it. It was quiet. I was at the ocean every day. I miss walking in the water. But since a year before, prior to move, I was like, it's flat here now. But my car came straight here. And when I see that, I say, it's here. And it's like that.
Mm.
You see, it's magic.
Mm.
I had the same thing in Malibu. Exactly the same thing when I moved in Malibu.
Mm.
So it's that.
And you've been in the desert how long now?
1 year. But you know, Felipe, this is something very important, I think, to point for followers, for people who are listening. When you are clear with what you feel is right or not right for you, and you are not on the fear, but like a big window of opportunities opening, and trusting that, you unlock something and you know exactly what to do and when to do it. And it's fantastic. I had this experience so many times in my life. If you stay on fears, it's done, it's blocked. If you are happy, even if the thing that is coming is not really you are, I was so happy. I was starting to make the interior design of that other place. Oh, I'm gonna do that. I was excited, you know. I had to forget about all this. I had to forget. I have to don't be under fear, to don't found anything. To really trust the universe, because what I felt in my body was so strong. It was a no, and this was right. And I trust that, you know. It's fantastic. We are antennas. We are like, we are, in fact, it's only in the body that we can feel these things that comes from our higher self. Invisible, subtle, impalpable, you cannot touch, you cannot see. And it's only the body that can manifest that presence.
How is for you? How do you develop this sense of listening your body? Of
By observation, by observation, by observation of cause and effect, by observation since very young. Also, nature is showing us this. So without knowing that, I think I was in touch with this natural process. That when the door is closed, it's because it's not for me, it's because I'm protected. If I listen my little voice who say, don't go by this way, take this way, and I don't listen, I go by the way I did not listen, I slide and I fall. For example, an example. So I observed this since very young. It started, and it has been that event. When I was pregnant of my son, I was at school and I was 16 and a half. But I was not married. So I declare for the administration, without my parents knowing, under the name of my father, to be able to get my compensation, my benefits. I forgot about them. After it has been all the thing that my parents discovered, I had my pregnancy 5 months because I didn't want anyone interfere with this pregnancy or making me doing an abortion. So I hid, because I had parents were making their daughter doing abortion, and me, I didn't want. So I hid 5 months to be sure that nothing could be done to me and to the baby. And I forgot about that. We moved after I got married, and we moved from where I was south of Corsica to Bastia, one of the cities, with my husband. And we had no money. We were like, how are we going to do to pay the rent? You will not guess. The declaration I made more than a year before, I got a letter and a retroactive benefit. and the benefits was covering the amount of money we needed to take this apartment and for the rent. And this alerted me, and I say, wow. So when you do your part, when you cannot make things going faster, but you have to do what has to be done and in your ability to do in the moment where you feel it. I did it. I forgot about it. I was not waiting about it. I just did my part. And when it was the right time and I needed, we needed, this came. So I said, this is interesting because I connected that. And this stays always with me. It's in a way, it made me be very, very trusty in life, but not waiting that things comes, but doing what I feel right to do in a moment, even if people think it's crazy. But what I feel right or what I want to do or desire to do, this is the thing. If I don't do it, I will not feel good because my higher self will push me and, things will not flow freely if I don't do this. So it's that. And I try to, in my live video, to explain this process, but it's something that you have to experiment. You cannot explain how to do this. I can tell a story, my experiment. A lot of people relate to these stories. And this helps a lot of people to change their life as well and their mindset. Because like you said at the beginning, all is about the mindset. And how you can decide to change your mindset. How you can decide just by knowing that there is day and light, and these are two natural phenomenon. And you can, if you have something, a situation like that, it's possible that there is something opposite of that situation, the hidden gift. So try to shift your mind to be able to, with your imagination. Imagination is a very important tool. It's imagination for me. It's when you put image. You have an image of something, an idea, and you put it in action. Imagination for me, it's image in action. And when something is bothering you, you don't know what to do with or that, use your imagination and see how you would like this to be. And be open to things different because you don't know what the universe is going to bring you, So, and be amazed and thankful when the universe brings something that's going to stimulate again your creativity. Because what I notice, and I think this is very important, I notice that challenges, things that are not going like we want, in fact, it's exactly what we need to stimulate our desire and our creativity. It's an amazing process. Look at plants. There is concrete, there is a little seed that is in a crack in the concrete and it's going to grow, It's always amazed me. And the plant I see in rocks, how do they do that? We are the same. We are, as nature, we are exactly the same.
I practice a lot of meditation, and I guess you also have your spiritual practices.
Not a lot,
because
I'm living in silence. I practice meditation, but not really in the conventional way that we think about meditation. I can be seated in silence and just look outside, and for me, it's meditative. I can picture, photography, plants to the point that I don't feel boundaries between the plants and me, or the flower and me. I became that flower, and I appreciate its beauty and that gratitude, and this feed me, and this is meditation for me. In action, it's when you go deep, you are connected in the present moment with what surrounds you, that you are totally part of it, that you breathe. Like when I do this self-portrait, I see the plants around me. I'm like the bird that is coming and all that. And but this is so amazing what I'm living. But I do it, I create it. It's not coming, and you can be seated in meditation and be bothered by all sort of things. Uh, and it's meditation is also something very personal, and it's very difficult for me. When people ask me how do you do it, it's very simple. I go back to my body. I feel my body. I breathe. I feel inside. I like this, to the point that it's like there is no boundary between inside outside, and it's a great feeling. It's like I lie down in my bed. I breathe, and to the point, and this is ecstasy, when your whole body is like breathing, and it's like And I was doing this breathing exercise practice that I was creating myself.
Oh yeah, tell me about that because I think you posted a video
Yeah,
about this breathing technique.
I started with trouble again. Problem, create desire to resolve it, and bring imagination on the field. So I had a little bit of incontinence. Not a lot, but just I was sneezing. Just I said, my goodness, I have to do something. I realized why I had that. Because when I was younger, when I was going to pee to the bathroom, I wanted this to be done fast, fast, fast. So I pushed, pushed, pushed. And this creates a thing. I realized when I started to do my breathing exercise at my way. So I've been online. I checked a little bit about that, how to bring Tony, to strengthen this part of the body. And I started to really envision. So I took a map, draw about my anatomy that I know very well, my body. I always been interested in anatomy and medical field, and I really watched that. And I started to breathe and to feel all my organs and put all my attention there with this breathing and contracting and letting go and contracting and letting go. And I let flow. I was really guided and doing like cycles, faster, slower, putting my attention more there or there or there. And suddenly I had this kind of thing. I could stay 2 hours like that. It's like my body was breathing by itself. So I did the cycles, contracting, pushing, pushing the breath, or keeping the breath in retention, or all these cycles and things. After I was like, and it was like flowing, and I could stay hours, and it was like my body was breathing by itself. It was orgasmic. And I said, wow. So I know I can go back to that. But okay, I have other things to do than spending 2 hours a morning in my bed to experiment that. I did it for many months. It was fantastic. But now I also noticed that this incontinence thing was a kind of alert that I had to rest. And that I had to rest and to go back really deep in my body. Because when I push too much around doing things, it can come. So I had to learn to rest. And when you learn to rest, you are more in tune with yourself.
Yes, that is exactly something that I'm trying to do right now, to rest a little bit and take a little bit of break in my life and not being doing and doing and doing.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a lot of people who are not really connected with their bodies, and they cannot really take decisions, or they don't follow the intuition because they're very focused in exterior things, the social media, the work, the stress, the war, the media, and so
You
on.
know, it's 45 years I don't have TV. I have a computer, sure, with a big screen. When I want to watch a movie, I can watch that. I work on this big screen computer that I really love. But I'm not connecting to TV channels at all. There is a frequency that really disturbs me, that brings me down, and I don't want that in my home. So I don't have that. So this is already bringing peace. And I'm a lot in silence. I love to be in silence, even without music or just silence.
Do you consider yourself somebody who is very spiritual or somebody who is very sensitive?
I'm very sensitive. Um, for me, very spiritual doesn't mean anything, because for me, everybody is spiritual. Because being a human being, we are connected to spirit. It's impossible to be manifested in the flesh if you are not from spiritual world. It's not possible. I realized many years ago that in fact I am a mystic. You know, it's like I'm so in love with beauty. I can find beauty even in a piece of concrete that has a beautiful shape, color, and design. You know, and and for me, beauty is a direct expression of the divine. It's that, it's everywhere, it's surrounding me everywhere at my taste. It may be not the taste of anyone, but it's my way to express beauty, what I'm surrounding, with what I wear, with what I create. I feel I'm like uh, a divine creature that is manifesting beauty on earth at my way. Some people may not like my expression of beauty, but this is my way. And for me, if there is not this dimension, it's all about that. Look, we are amazing creatures. It's mind-blowing how 9 months to do a body in a body. When you think about that, how it's possible. In 9 months in the body, we pass by all the steps of life on earth in only 9 months. It's fascinating to me where this is coming from. You know what I mean? It's like,
I believe, as you, that we can find beauty everywhere in the world.
if there is not this enthusiasm meaning embracing the divine, you know, if there is not that, life is miserable. It's for that you have people very poor. They are full of enthusiasm. They appreciate the few they have. I was in Thailand, like we were saying with my son, people who don't have a lot, they are happy, they are peaceful, and nobody is starving, because everybody is sharing, or they have garden, they have fruits, vegetables everywhere, chicken running everywhere, and nobody is in the street homeless, even if they have very little habitat, tiny, very simple, and they are smiley and happy, and they share with you what they have, and they have respect for elders, and is what I liked. So it's really interesting, and I was like thinking, okay, modeling has a very uh, pale taste. It's like fading. Unless I would do things that I love for brand that I love, because it's difficult for me, especially in the time we live since 3 years. It's like obsolete, all that. It's like, what's the point of all this modeling thing in a time where there is so many sufferance? People are suffering a lot. People are wandering. People are scared. And what is the point again to have all this thing with makeup and hair and fake me, because it's not me like I am, and to promote a product that I never use just to make money? This was not right with me anymore. And I was thinking, unless I found great photographers, they're going to show me as I am. Unless
Mhm.
I found great clients that has nice brand with ethic that I would love to promote. And like by chance, I had this discussion with myself when I came back from my trip, actually. Because when I came back from my trip, I had 2 weeks in bed. I was miserable. I've been really, really, really affected, really down. Because a lot of changes, because it's the end of a cycle. It was like death inside of me, projected, but I projected all around me, nothing had meaning. So I went through that phase. I could say depression, depression phase. But I lived with that. I stayed with that. I did not, I was not scared by it. It was not comfortable because I was really, really weak. I was from my bed to the bed outside. I was really down. But I started to have this idea, and I realized that this idea of starting modeling again in different situation, different condition was like I put this idea, and you will not guess. A photographer I worked with many years ago that I appreciate contacted me and said, and we spoke about these 3 years, and he said, oh, tell me about that. I change everything. I create my own agency, and I would love that you be model in my agency. 5 models on me. I said, why not? And another one said, oh, I be close by your place and we do this photography and we really would love to shoot with you. And I say, and I see what they do and I like it. And I say, wow. And you see, it's coming. You just have to have the idea to be clear with yourself. The first thing is to be clear.
Yeah.
And we'll see what life brings.
You're still modeling, you're still traveling, you're still being an entrepreneur, you're creating businesses, you are now living alone in the desert, you're planning to move to another continent. Where are you getting all this energy?
I just follow the flow. When the confinement started, I started one of the first video. I say, I moved. I was 45 in New York. I quit everything in Paris. My kids were grown, and I'm ready to start again, to go in another place, in another. I didn't know at that time, but it was already, the higher self was already speaking through me. He knew already. And I was excited about that idea. And when my son started to tell me, I'm going to do this, this, this. And when he found the land for us to build the small compound, and I told my son, I said, you know what? I feel so much alive again. All this is so exciting to me. It's like I had my daughter last day. She's almost 50. I had her for my 20th birthday. And she said, oh, now you're going to go in Thailand. Is it why? I say, because I felt my time is done here. And I feel excitement when I am in a foreign country. Because she said, why not going back in Corsica? I love Corsica a lot. But maybe it's because the experience I have, my higher self want to have, is not in Corsica right now. Maybe just, and there are, when I arrived in Thailand, I told my son, this is not for me. 3 weeks after, I told my son, you know what? I'm going to be free of everything and I'm going to start again here. And he was like, and in fact, I think it's because there is this in the flow of life that is there for me and I just follow. And this gives me energy. Because like I said, you don't block an energy of life. You just let the flow go and you follow it and you are excited by it and you are enthusiastic. And this is like a dynamo bicycle, It's alimented by itself because you are on that thing. So I questioned myself. I was like, okay, did you quit Paris because you escaped something of your life and you thought, and I was sincere with myself. And I said, no. And now I question myself. I said, and I know because I knew I will quit the country before 70 since many years. And I'm like, okay, is it because you want to escape something that you have not resolved? And so I'm facing myself in this. No, it's just because it's exciting to me to be in another country, and this, I don't know even the language. And my son is in school, Thai school, to learn Thai. And I took a nap to learn the Thai, just the basics. And I'm like, starting to, we can speak English everywhere there, but it's not the same. I want to be able also to, communicate or understand what is said around me. And even if I traveled a lot in foreign country, I don't speak the language like the Middle East, but I can feel in the conversation that people have regarding the expression, regarding the energy, I can feel what they are speaking about, even if I don't know the detail, So, yeah, it's exciting. It's this.
You are a very happy
I
person.
am, I
I
am
see you.
like a,
You are very excited by life. You let the energy flow. There's so many people in their 20s, 30s that they feel that they cannot live alone, that they are at the end of their age, productive age, and you're a clear example that you can keep growing, creating, doing. And people are very concerned about, oh, I cannot be by myself. I need to have a relationship. I have to be with somebody.
when I was young, I had a friend astrologer. She told me when I will be 50, I will be alone. It was a disaster. I said, no way. For me, it was all about the couple, the children, being married, blah, 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 trying to make the family perfect like I never had. I was not with my parents, like. I think it's normal that younger people don't want this, don't feel good about that. For a simple reason. We are social beings and we have to have experiences, because the experiences we have in being in relationship, that it be friend or family or partner or husband, wives, any kind of relationships, we grow a lot from that. We learn a lot from that. And it's because there is this need of discovering ourselves through the relationship with others that we are like yearning to have relationships. When you had a lot of experiences, and I don't mean hundreds of relationships, sexual relationships, it's not that. When you had you really been deep in relationships, often not pleasant or pleasant ones, but the non-pleasant is the one you learn more about yourself, what you want and you don't want, how you want to, how you can express yourself in the situation, all that. After a while, it's like you void the reservoir. It's done. After a while, you know better yourself and you know really what you want and you don't want. And when I was 50, I was divorcing, second marriage. And I realized that I really love to be alone. And more since now it's 17 years, I cannot believe it. I really enjoy to be alone. I cannot even imagine to live in a relationship with someone daily anymore. I'm open to relationship. I'm not needy. This is when you are not needy, you have no idea the peace it brings you. It's fantastic. And I think about my friend Monique, the astrologer, and I'm like, she was right. And I could not see this positively when I was 20, 25. And it was not, I could not imagine that. I could not imagine I would feel so happy and comfortable with myself. It's, and I cannot compromise this. I think I did the wedding with my shadow, it was a part of me I didn't want to see or I rejected. And I'm married. I'm married with my higher self. I'm married inside. I have these two polarities that I deal with. The one that is very And I'm social. When I'm with people, I'm happy, and I'm not someone, I learned also that when I was younger and when I was criticizing eventually or judging something or someone, I learned that in fact I was projecting something of myself I could not see. So when you learn this process, you learn a lot about yourself first, because immediately you say, oh, I don't like this in that person. Whoa, what is similar to me that I don't know very well, that I project outside to be able to see it, this phenomenon of projection. So I learn a lot about, and this you can only in relationship. So it's for that when we are young, we need these relationships, because we need to have to work this process, to be better and better in touch with ourselves, and to know better and better ourselves, and what is important for us, and what are the priorities we have in life. And so this is an amazing growing process.
Do you feel
No,
lonely
never.
sometimes?
Never. I don't know what it is. No. And Felipe, the amazing thing is that, and this is really the magic of life, this life that I didn't want people to take out of my body when I was not even 17. 50 years later is that life that is bringing me new opportunities. And I never thought deep inside of me that when I will be old, my kids will take care of me. Never. For me, they are individual, they have their life. I don't brought kids in this world for them to take care of me. It's for that also I take care of myself. I don't want to be a weight for them. So I'm amazed that how the synchronicities and how all this developed in 3 years, these last 3 years, that has been very determinant for a lot of people. I was not feeling the change, but now when I look back since these 3 years, I say, wow, all the event, cause effect in 3 years bring me today. I send money to buy a house in Thailand. It's like things that in a way, I was thinking I did the same when I moved in New York. Exactly the same thing. I arrived in New York, I knew nobody. I had some money because I worked for America before, and I had some money in a bank, and everything was like set up for me, but I set up myself. To be able to take an apartment in New York, paying in advance 1 year rent, because nobody knew me. Nobody could rent me. So I had to start a rent history. And I have the feeling it's the same. And it came, sure, the opportunity, the window has been opened by my son. But again, I engage myself. I engage my energy in that. Without thinking, maybe it's stupid, maybe no. And we'll see what happens. You see, it's that trust. I think that trust can come really like we said at the beginning, for this life in nature. Nature provide. So when you see this as child, it's normal. You know what I mean? Nature provide. So nature is you as well. So nature, your nature provide as well. But for that, you don't have to block the flow by fear. Fear is the biggest blocker. This is really what breaks everything. And it's for that it has been these 3 years like that, really. Because human race is on a line of, we are mutant. We are mutating all the time. So the mutation accelerated because we go from being, very attached to the physical body to discover our invisible dimension. And we create the perfect tool for that. We create this phone that is no connection, and we can connect, and we create social network.
Yeah.
So this is invisible as well. And this, for
Yes.
me, it's a way that humans create this to be able to be aware of their own invisible dimension, to don't reject that. Because at the beginning, when I was speaking about that, and I told my kids 30 years ago, it could be amazing to have this, the first phone we had, to have this and take pictures and send them. They say, you are crazy. So, because people don't believe at that time a lot in the invisible dimension, me, I was already connected to it. So now I'm jubilating because I see all these tools we created. It's for people to realize their invisible dimension. That we use this tool, it's invisible, but it's working. And we are also like that. We have the tool that can manifest our invisible dimension. This tool, this amazing friend, So it's that. And through our creation, we manifest that invisible dimension. And now we are in a time, planet Earth is ascending, the energy is faster and raising and elevating, and we are obliged to follow. We are on that planet. We are part of this big organism, a live organism. We are part of nature, so we are obliged to follow. So this manifests, especially since the last 3 years, in pain in the body, different things, because our DNA is changing. And the human race is mutating toward, and the crisis we are living, the crisis we live, it's a spiritual growth crisis. It's that. And we create the perfect tools like 30 years ago with computers and all these things to be able to be aware of who really we are and what we can do, and what is the most important. It's to be free as human being, to be diverse, to be totally different from one to another, even having the same specificity as human beings. Bones, blood, organs, fascinating. All the human body is fascinating. And all that, we have this in common. We are part of this nature. And what can we... I think if people are not amazed, if they are not in wonder, in the wonderful of that, they cannot be happy. They cannot be happy, and this creates all the conflict. Because when you are at that level, I posted in my story today, this cat with the little chicken, and with the mother chicken all together like that. They are totally different. And they had, they're happy and they feel good and they cocoon, and it's about love and about tenderness and just feeling good together, touching, and this little story is so beautiful. And it's like that. We aspire to that.
What do you think the people should do to lead a more happy life?
Create with their hands, making things with their hands. When you work with your hands, and I've been raised working a lot with my hands, knitting, weaving, doing a lot of things, because my grandparents were doing everything on both sides. My mother always worked. My father was working with the hands. So it's something in the family. We can do everything, When you work with your hands, you can making pearls on a string, making necklaces, knitting, carving, mud, sculpture, pottery, ceramics, anything, cooking, taking care of your body, massaging you. When you work with your hands, you are out of time. You forget the time.
Tell me about your daily life, about your nutrition. How do you stay young and healthy and full of vitality?
First, since ever I go to farmers market, I go rarely to supermarket. This is my political engagement as well. It's to support little farmers. So this is something that also, because I've been raised where you have the garden and orchard, and you take, I've been raised in also taking care of the plant with my grandfather and all that, and collecting fruits, vegetables and things. It's part of, it's natural life, normal life. So to be close to that, the easiest way, I planted some tomatoes in my shed, actually, some potatoes in my shed from the farmers. I let them sprouted, and now they are growing like that already, just to have the fun to do it, you know. And I eat organic since a very, very, very long time. I was already in Paris. I was eating organic because the research of this natural food providing thing, you know, it's that. Um, I don't have special timing or things like that. I eat when I'm hungry, because if I go back to bed at 3:30 in the morning, I may have to wake up around 9, and I will arrive midday. But usually I can say that I have a breakfast, let's say around 10, 11, after I did a little bit of yoga or photo shooting or something, you know, early morning because of the light. And after I stay all the afternoon with nothing and maybe a fruit, I have some tea or water. And the evening I have another meal. Beginning of evening around, let's say 7, 6:30, 7. Yesterday it was 8. It was a little bit late. And after again, my breakfast is in fact a brunch, because I have breakfast around 10, 11. So I have 2 meals a day. I feel really good like that. It's difficult for me to put meat in my body from supermarket. Very difficult. And bison, it's a good meat. It's really good. When I was in Malibu, I ordered once. It's a farm. It's not a farm. It's a ranch, you can say, of bison. They are free, and they are on Instagram. I follow them, and I order from them, and the meat is excellent. And it's ethical, and you can see how they raise them. They don't even raise them. They are in nature. And also the consciousness you are eating with, the gratefulness. It's a ceremony. It's a ceremony to put in your body the part of dead animal. You know, so I connect to the energy of this specific animal. It's a want. And when I was in Thailand, I had the little running chicken in the field, you know, and they're happy and they are like, so it's sad, but in the same time, they are good. I love food, you know, so
Yeah.
it's like fish. When I am at the ocean in Corsica, I play with fish. They play with you. They come, they are curious. They are around you and they play. But I love them in my plate as well. You know, it's hard because, and they are beautiful, but very good when they are, you know, well grilled or simple steam. And so I think it's all about mindset and gratefulness. Yeah. Appreciation is very, very important.
What is your recipe for longevity?
It's what I told you about that, about loving life. In fact, I never think this is something interesting, because I cannot believe I'm almost 70. It's something that came so suddenly, you know, it came fast. From my 15 years old, I'm here. I cannot believe where it's gone. All this life, you know, it's fabulous in a way. And my aunt, 97, just passed away 2 weeks, not even the 8th of May, 2 weeks ago. And I saw her when I was in Corsica in April, and she really was sad to see herself in the state she was. Really down, really like not able to move. Look at me, and it was breaking my heart that she was aware of her state. And I had the feeling when she passed that for 3 years I've not been there because of the same situation. It's like she waited I go to tell me she loved me, for me to tell her I loved her, and to go. And I felt her so free. I felt her free. I take care of myself. I invested money in my teeth, you know, because I want to take care of myself to be able to enjoy life until the end. I want to be able to enjoy, create, and do things I like until the end. I never think I'm old. I never, sure, I don't like very much my wrinkles and my skin going down. And, it's not pleasant. It's a reality. It's not pleasant. But I don't focus on that. I have better things to do, and the thing is, when you focus on that, you become that. When you focus on that, it shrinks you because it creates a stress. It doesn't let the flow of life flowing. Life wants only one thing. Look around you. Nature, it's only one thing. You cut, it grow again. You do that, it's expanding, proliferating. We are exactly the same. Don't cut the flow of life by being stressed because you age. It's a reality. You're gonna die. You age, and you're gonna die. It's life. If you don't want to see death, you will not be able to appreciate the depth of cycle in your life that we go through because the body change, like menopause, or through a divorce, or through something we lose, or someone we lose. This is the end of a cycle. It's death. If we want to avoid death, we cannot be alive. It's impossible. And I don't want to be, I have no regrets. I don't want to be 15, 20, 30. Not at all. I love myself since many years now, since almost 2 decades, better than when I was younger. Yeah, because what I told you about the experiences who made me discovering me who I am and what I want and what is important to me. And so now I really, it's for that I really appreciate to be alone. I'm never alone. I'm with my higher self all the time. And it's fantastic, Who would tell something like
Yeah.
that? Because I want to show you, because the light is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Show
So
me.
this is the place.
No. Wow.
You see, it's magical.
Wow.
Imagine if I was on fear and I was, or on fear to don't have, and I took the apartment at the golf course. I will never
Mm.
enjoy this. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because some people could say, okay, it's expensive, $500 a month, but at least I had that. I take it because where I gonna go? What I gonna do? I need to move in 2 weeks, and okay, and it's like
Mm.
making a sacrifice, but being unhappy because it's not right, but
Mm.
sure because at least I have something. No, look,
Yeah.
it's much more than what I was expected. It's beautiful. It's a um, beautiful flow. And even in the terrible time, I've been through terrible times, It's not all.
Yes. Yeah. I think we all have gone through difficult,
Yeah,
very difficult
yeah,
times. I think especially now is that a lot of people are struggling with a lot of existential questions. I see it all the time. People are questioning if they should stay in this relationship where they are right now, they leave marriages or leave their job or find a purpose in life. And very young
yeah.
people. That's why I'm really amazed that you're almost 70 and you are breaking all these
hmm
paradigms
I'm not the
of
only one.
uh
You know what I did recently? I changed my mindset because when I was young, I said, okay, I'm born in 1955, 2000 seems so far away. I say, well, I'm going to be 45, I'm going to be old. It will be the end of my life. I will live 45 after 2045, I'm dead. And after I postponed a little bit to 95, 100. And recently I said, no, no, no. I changed the preemption date to 120.
mm, yeah, and I think it's possible.
So I want to maintain myself in good shape. It's something, if I don't do yoga one day, I have not done yoga for more than a month. I'm not feeling guilty. I saw my body was not very happy. It was like, it will come back. I just have to go back
Yeah.
to taking care of myself, and that's it. And
Mm.
the body
Yeah.
want always the best.
Is there anything that you would like to advise to the younger generations right now?
Go with your experiences. Don't have regrets. Do what you feel to do. To don't have regrets. To have not done it, even if it's a disaster. But it's disaster is part of the thing. Even if it's something not pleasant, it's going to be always a liberation or a protection. So the most important thing is to do what we feel deep inside. Because even if it's something like you become addicted to cigarette, let's say, it's going to be a point where it was maybe what you needed to desire something else. So don't feel guilt, or you feel guilt, go with it. Be responsible about that. Like, okay, I'm guilty. Okay, don't avoid to see your flaws. Go with that, because this is what I said, the wedding with the shadow. It's about facing what we don't like about of ourselves, and because more we reject, and more it's going to come in another stronger in another way, so through experiences. So we just have to acknowledge it. Okay, I'm like that. Okay, and what else? And wha- what's the point? What is wrong in that? And if I think this is wrong, what I can do with it to don't be wrong, what I can transform. It's about transformation. It's like martial arts. You take an energy that is like violent, and you bring it with you, and you bring this, you know like in aikido, like, and you make something beautiful out of it. So it's that.
I'm really fascinated for how you, with 70, you're still so active and creating that much. It's really, really inspiring for me.
It's me who thank you very
Mm,
much, Felipe. It has been quite
mm.
hectic. You contacted me some months ago, and I was going to trip and all that. And
No,
yeah,
it's fine. It has to happen in the
yeah,
right
I
moment.
think it's right now because I started to feel to speak again. And thank you very much for the opportunity. And
Mm.
and
Thank you so much for
yeah,
sharing.
yeah,
I really, really, really
thank
appreciate it.
you. So have a nice night. It's late for you.
You too. Yeah, it's 2 a.m.
Yeah. Okay, sleep well.
Yeah.
Sweet dreams. And
Thank you so much.
bye. Bye.